Giant's Causeway on the coast of Northern Ireland is one of the UK's outstanding natural features. Its steep cliffs and deep bays form a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
What if I told you that for centuries, a giant stone in Ireland wasn't just a stone, but a sealed door hiding something the world was never meant to see? Out in the quiet Irish countryside, this massive slab stood like part of the landscape, silent, ordinary, almost invisible. Locals passed it, tourists photographed it, but archaeologists noticed something strange: the balance, the angle, the way it seemed deliberately set into the earth. It didn't belong there by accident. After weeks of scanning, measuring and debating, the team made a bold decision. They tried to move it, and it moved. The moment that stone shifted, everything changed. A rush of cold air escaped from the darkness behind it. Air that hadn't touched the outside world in hundreds of years. What lay beyond wasn't just an empty chamber. It was a space frozen in time, sealed with intention, hiding clues that could rewrite what we thought we knew about Ireland's ancient past. Some discoveries give answers. This one raised bigger questions. Why was it hidden so carefully? Who sealed it, and what were they protecting? What emerged from behind that moving stone door didn't just shock the archaeologists on site, it left them speechless. If you're ready to uncover secrets history tried to bury, hit like and subscribe, because this is only the beginning of a story that gets even more unbelievable. She didn't hesitate. The moment she heard about the strange stone doorway, she grabbed her ground-penetrating radar and headed straight for the cliffs she had studied for years. This wasn't a random tourist spot to her. These rocks were like old friends. As one of the world's top geologists, she understood every layer, every crack, every story hidden in that stone. She positioned the radar over the exact section where the door had appeared and began scanning. At first, the screen showed the usual patterns of dense basalt. Then suddenly, something changed. She froze. For almost 2 full minutes, she just stared. Deep inside the solid rock, the radar revealed a huge hollow chamber, about 12 feet deep and 26 feet wide. That alone didn't make sense. Basalt cliffs like these aren't supposed to hide empty spaces that size. But that wasn't the worst part. Inside the chamber were 7 tall shapes, upright, still, each one between 7 and 8 feet tall, far larger than any known humans who lived in ancient Ireland. And they weren't scattered randomly. They were perfectly arranged. Each figure stood exactly 4.5 feet apart, aligned like guards on duty. Every single one faced the same direction. They were facing the door. That's when this stopped being a strange geological find and became something far more disturbing. Basalt forms from flowing lava. It doesn't wrap itself neatly around standing objects. The only way those shapes could be inside solid rock is if they were already there before the lava hardened. That would mean they've been sealed inside for nearly 60 million years, long before humans, long before recorded history. And that realization changed everything. The figures weren't solid stone. The following day, another scientist arrived with more advanced scanning equipment, a geophysicist from Belfast who specializes in reading underground structures. At first, he worked calmly and professionally, but about 20 minutes in, his hands began shaking so badly he had to set his tablet down. His detailed scans revealed something deeply unsettling. The 7 figures were hollow. Each one was a shell with a thin outer layer, as if something had once occupied the inside or possibly still did. Even stranger, the material made no sense. Whatever those shells were made of should never have survived molten lava. Nothing organic can endure temperatures above 2,000 degrees, and yet these forms existed inside rock that had once been liquid fire, sealed there for tens of millions of years. Within 48 hours, government agencies were alerted. That's when things became truly strange. An official environmental agency arrived and released a public statement dismissing the entire incident. They claimed the drone footage was nothing more than light and shadow. They insisted there was no hidden chamber and urged the public to stop speculating. But there was a problem. Their lead consultant refused to sign the report. Witnesses say she reviewed the sonar data, turned visibly pale, and resigned from her position the very next week. Her resignation letter was only one sentence long. She said she had seen enough. Soon after, the entire area around Giant's Causeway was sealed off with barriers and warning signs. Officials blamed erosion and safety concerns, but everyone involved knew the real reason. They weren't protecting the cliffs. They were hiding something. 4 days after the first scan, one of the researchers came back to double-check the data. This wasn't secret or dramatic. It's normal in serious research to compare fresh scans with the original results. She expected the second scan to match the first exactly. It didn't. When the image appeared on her screen, her stomach dropped. There were only 6 figures. One was missing. The stone door had never opened. A motion-activated camera had been installed, pointed directly at the cliff, recording day and night. The footage showed nothing. No cracks, no shaking, no movement. The entrance stayed completely sealed. And yet inside that solid rock chamber, one of the tall shapes had vanished. There was no rubble, no hidden tunnel, no sign of damage. Just empty space where something had once stood. It didn't make sense. Nothing can simply pass through solid stone. So where did it go? They were warm, and they had heartbeats. A different scientist arrived from another city to run thermal imaging tests. Her goal was simple: rule out volcanic heat or underground water that might explain the strange readings. It was a freezing March morning. The air temperature was just 39 degrees. The cliff face was just as cold, exactly what you'd expect along the Irish coast. But when she aimed her thermal camera at the hidden chamber, the screen exploded with bright reds and oranges. Inside the sealed room, the 6 remaining figures were glowing with heat. Their temperature read 99 degrees Fahrenheit, nearly identical to the internal body temperature of a healthy human. That should have been impossible. Stone cannot retain that kind of warmth for 60 million years, especially not while surrounded by icy ocean air and cold rock. And yet, deep inside the cliffs of Giant's Causeway, something was still warm. Something was still active, and one of them was already gone. Heat doesn't behave like that. It spreads out, it fades, it disappears. The readings were so precise that the scientist actually asked her colleagues if they were playing a prank on her. The numbers looked too perfect to be real. But when she realized no one was joking, she quietly packed up her equipment and stopped responding to emails for 3 full weeks. Then the team tried something else. They installed vibration sensors directly into the rock, designed to listen to what the stone itself was doing. What they detected was far worse. A rhythmic pulse was coming from behind the wall, steady and unmistakable. It repeated every 4.7 seconds. One of the scientists chose his words carefully, but eventually admitted the truth. It sounded exactly like a slow, deliberate heartbeat. The thermal readings weren't stable either. At random moments, temperatures would spike above 100 degrees, then gradually fall again. These changes didn't match ocean tides, weather shifts, or any known geological pattern. Whatever was producing the heat wasn't coming from the rock. It was coming from inside those hollow shells, and they were moving. Every 3 days, the team ran another scan of the hidden chamber. At first, they were just being careful, but soon, the updates started to feel disturbing. The 6 remaining figures were no longer in the same spots. They weren't making sudden jumps or dramatic shifts. Instead, each new scan showed something subtle, a few inches closer than before. Small changes, slow movement, but movement without question. They were no longer standing evenly spaced like before. Now they were closer together, and little by little, they were heading toward the sealed stone door. It didn't look random, it looked intentional, almost like something waking up after an endless sleep. Think about the scale of that. If these beings were truly trapped when the lava hardened, they would have been there for millions of years, through shifting continents, freezing ice ages, and the entire rise of human history. And now, in our time, they're moving. The government cover-up. More than 1 million people visit Giant's Causeway every year. Families stroll across the ancient black stones. They take selfies. They listen to tour guides, share playful stories about giants building bridges to Scotland. None of those visitors have any idea what's really there. They don't know that just 39 feet behind the cliff face, hidden in total darkness, 6 massive entities remain, radiating body heat into the surrounding cold stone. And the government has worked relentlessly to keep that secret buried. Heavy barriers and bright yellow warning signs now surround that specific section of the cliffs. If you ask a park ranger why the area is closed, you'll hear the same explanation every time. Falling rocks, unstable ground, routine safety concerns. They want it to sound boring and ordinary, but the real reason that spot is sealed off is because of what an electrician accidentally captured with his drone. One of the scientists involved tried to make the truth public. She spent months analyzing the thermal data, documenting the heat signatures, and compiling her findings into a detailed report. She submitted it to the official geological board, convinced the world deserved to know that something inside the Earth was still alive. Her paper was rejected immediately. She was told her equipment must have malfunctioned. Her methods were questioned, her conclusions dismissed. Then, quietly, a friend who worked on that board contacted her in secret and told her the real reason. No one wanted to deal with the chaos this information would unleash. If the public learned that biological heat signatures existed inside rock that's 60 million years old, it would shatter everything we think we know about history. Entire scientific frameworks would collapse. Textbooks would need to be rewritten from the ground up. In April, all monitoring equipment was quietly removed from the site. The scientists involved were warned to stay silent or risk losing their careers and never working in their fields again. But here's the thing. The evidence didn't disappear. It's still there. Even with all their efforts, the government couldn't erase every trace of what happened. The electrician still has the original drone footage, backed up on 3 separate hard drives hidden inside his home. The researchers involved made their own quiet decisions too. Each of them kept secret copies of the sonar data. And that data is the most disturbing part of this entire story. The final sensor readings, taken just before the equipment was removed, showed the 6 remaining figures were still active. They were still shifting, still pulsing. The one closest to the door was now only a few feet from the entrance, and its rhythmic heartbeat was growing stronger with each passing day. But one question won't leave anyone alone. Where is the 7th figure? During the first scan, there were 7. Now there are 6. One disappeared from a chamber that was completely sealed. No broken stone, No hidden tunnel. No sign of escape. So how did it get out? And more importantly, where is it now? If it truly left that chamber, it could be anywhere. Beneath the cold Atlantic waters, inside some deep coastal cave no one has explored, or somewhere far from the cliffs, moving through places we would never think to look. That's the part that unsettles people the most. We've always believed humans were the first advanced beings here. We assume this planet is ours, that we understand its history. But what if something else came long before us? Something that survived volcanic chaos, shifting continents, and the passing of millions of years. And for reasons we can't explain, it's choosing this moment to rise. What the AI revealed. Before the equipment was taken away, one researcher made a desperate decision. She gathered every piece of data they had collected, the sonar scans, thermal readings, vibration patterns, and movement coordinates, and fed it all into an advanced AI analysis system used by leading universities to study geological anomalies. The data came from deep within the cliffs of Giant's Causeway, and what the AI found would make this story even more unsettling. She expected the AI to find mistakes. She expected warnings about corrupted data or malfunctioning equipment. That would have been the easy explanation. Instead, the system processed everything in under 4 minutes and delivered results that left the entire team in stunned silence. The AI confirmed that the rhythmic 4.7-second pulse was not geological in origin. It compared the vibration pattern against a massive database of more than 200,000 known natural phenomena, including tidal movements, seismic activity, and underground water flow. There were 0 matches. The conclusion was blunt and deeply unsettling. This pattern wasn't natural. It was biological. But that wasn't the most disturbing part. The AI went further, cross-referencing the thermal readings with the movement data collected during those 72-hour intervals. It mapped the path of each figure and projected where they were heading next. The results were chilling. The figures weren't moving at random. They were advancing in a deliberate, coordinated sequence, like they were following a plan set in motion long ago. Then the system uncovered something even more alarming, something hidden deep in the sonar data that no human had noticed. Beneath the figures, carved into the chamber floor, were markings, geometric patterns etched directly into the basalt. They weren't random shapes. They weren't natural fractures in the rock. The AI identified them as a repeating sequence, a structured system, governed by mathematical rules, possibly a language. The system couldn't translate it. Nothing in any known human database matched the patterns. But it reached one conclusion with 94% confidence. The markings were intentional. They were intelligent. And they were consistent. They were created by something that understood geometry at a level that rivals modern engineering. When the researchers shared these results with the rest of the team, one of them completely broke down. Because this meant the beings inside the rock hadn't merely survived there for 60 million years. They had communicated. They left messages. They made plans. They weren't trapped. They were waiting. The AI's final output was a single line, one no one on the team has been able to forget. After analyzing all available data, movement patterns, thermal escalation rates, and projected trajectories, it calculated a probability window for what it described as a significant event at the sealed entrance. The estimated time frame, within the next several months. The researchers printed the report. They made copies. Then they stood by as every piece of equipment was dismantled and hauled away, the site sealed, and the official explanation locked firmly into place. But the AI doesn't lie. It doesn't have a career to protect. It doesn't fear pressure, politics, or consequences. It only reads the data. And the data says something is coming. So what happens next? The stone door has opened once before. That alone is unsettling. Now, with each new scan, the signs are getting stronger. The figures are closer to the exit. The heat inside the chamber is rising. The patterns don't look random anymore. Many researchers quietly believe the door will open again. And soon, if it does, 6 ancient beings will step out into a world completely different from the one they once knew. Will they be confused, calm, aggressive, intelligent? Do they remember a version of Earth covered in fire and molten rock? No one has answers, and that unknown is what makes this so heavy. For millions of years, that volcanic stone has kept its secret. Now it feels like that hidden space beneath the cliffs is reaching its limit. If the door opens again, everything changes. We've built cities, crossed oceans, explored space, all while believing we were the first advanced life to walk this planet. We thought we understood our past. We thought we were alone. But what if we were wrong? The data suggests this isn't a matter of if, it's when. The scientists involved can't shake what they've seen. Even under pressure, even when told to stay quiet, they know the evidence is real. The movement, the heat, the slow approach toward the exit. Something is preparing to step out. And if that moment comes, humanity may have to face a truth we never expected. We might not be this planet's first chapter. We might just be the latest.